One rainy night in Lisbon, Cristiano Ronaldo saw something that changed him forever. A small, starving stray dog, shivering in the cold. At first, he hesitated. He had places to be, a life to live. But something inside him wouldn't let him walk away. What started as a simple act of kindness turned into something much bigger. A movement, a mission, a fight for those who have no voice. This is the story of how Cristiano Ronaldo went from football legend to the savior of thousands of abandoned animals. But what he did next, no one could have expected. Stay till the end. You won't believe how this journey unfolded. The streets of Lisbon. The streets of Lisbon were quiet, the rain falling gently against the cobblestone roads. The lights from nearby cafes flickered against the wet pavement, reflecting the deep orange glow of the city. Cristiano Ronaldo walked alone, his hands tucked into the pockets of his long black coat. He had returned to his hometown for a short break, but tonight, instead of the usual celebrations or media appearances, he just wanted to take in the city where it all began. As he rounded a corner near an old cafe, a faint whimper caught his attention. He stopped in his tracks, his ears tuning into the sound. It was barely audible over the rain, but it was there. A soft cry from the shadows of a nearby alley. He turned his head and saw something small and fragile curled up inside a torn cardboard box. A thin, trembling stray dog, barely strong enough to lift its head, was staring at him with weary eyes. Cristiano hesitated for a moment. He had always been someone who kept moving forward, but something about this moment made him pause. He took a slow step forward. A painful reminder. Cristiano crouched down beside the small dog, careful not to startle it. The animal's fur was matted, its ribs visible through its thin frame. It was soaking wet, shivering from the cold. He reached into his pocket, pulling out a protein bar. He broke off a small piece and placed it gently on the ground, just inches away from the dog. The animal hesitated, its tired eyes darting between the food and Cristiano's face. Slowly, cautiously, it sniffed the offering before devouring it hungrily. Cristiano watched in silence. For a brief moment, he was transported back in time, to a younger version of himself, walking home from football training as a child. He had seen a stray dog just like this one outside his home in Madeira, sitting in the rain, looking just as helpless. He had begged his mother to let him keep it, but they could barely afford food for themselves. His mother's voice echoed in his mind. "We can barely feed ourselves, Chris. We can't afford a dog." He had watched as his mother gently shooed the animal away. Now, years later, he was in a position to do something. This time, he would not walk away. Taking him. In Cristiano's penthouse in Lisbon was spacious and warm, a stark contrast to the cold streets outside. The small dog sat in the corner, unsure of its surroundings. A bowl of food and a soft towel were placed near it, but the animal remained hesitant. Cristiano leaned against the kitchen counter, watching the dog with a mix of concern and patience. "You'll be safe here," he said quietly, though he wasn't sure if the dog understood him. The dog took slow steps toward the food, sniffing cautiously before beginning to eat. Cristiano pulled out his phone and typed a quick message to Georgina, his wife. "Babe, I found someone tonight, and I think I want to keep him." A bigger problem. The next day, Cristiano sat in the locker room at the training ground, his mind still on the dog. As he laced up his boots, his longtime friend and agent, Jorge Mendes, sat beside him. "Did you know there are thousands of stray dogs in Portugal?" Cristiano asked, breaking the silence. Jorge glanced up from his phone. "It's sad, man. But what can we do?" Cristiano clenched his jaw. He had spent his entire life solving problems on the pitch, finding space where there was none, turning impossible situations into victories. He refused to believe that this problem had no solution. "We find a way," he said, determination settling into his voice. The first step. Later that evening, Cristiano visited a local animal shelter. It was a small facility, overcrowded and underfunded. A kind-hearted volunteer, Isabel, greeted him at the entrance, her eyes widening in disbelief as she recognized him. You want to help stray animals? She asked, her voice filled with excitement. Cristiano nodded. I don't just want to help. I want to change everything. Isabel led him through the shelter, showing him the dozens of animals that had been rescued from the streets. Many were sick, injured, or too weak to move. Cristiano's stomach tightened as he saw the conditions they lived in. He had seen poverty before. He had grown up with it. But this was something different. Something had to change. Meeting the forgotten ones. Cristiano stopped in front of a small black and white dog with a missing leg. The animal wagged its tail when it saw him. You still have fight in you, don't you? Cristiano said, kneeling down. He reached through the bars, and the dog licked his fingers. A small, simple gesture, but one that carried meaning. Cristiano turned to Isabel. How many of these animals never get adopted? Isabel sighed. Most of them. People want puppies. They don't want the broken ones. Cristiano set his jaw. I do, he said. Building a dream. Cristiano sat in his office that night, sketching ideas onto a whiteboard. A luxury rehabilitation center for stray dogs, a worldwide adoption campaign, a charity football event to fund shelters. He turned to Jorge. We're going big, he said. The announcement. A week later, the press gathered for a major announcement. Cameras flashed as Cristiano stepped up to the microphone. Football gave me everything, he said. Now, I want to give something back to those who don't have a voice. The audience erupted in applause. The rescue begins. Cristiano visited newly built shelters, watching as families adopted dogs. A young girl, no older than 8, hugged a small puppy tightly, looking up at him with tears of joy. Thank you, Ronaldo, she said. Cristiano smiled. A new family member. Back home, the small dog Cristiano had rescued now ran freely through the house, playing with his children. It was no longer afraid, no longer alone. Cristiano watched, feeling something deep inside his chest, something he hadn't felt in a long time. The unexpected gift. At training, his teammates surprised him with custom Portugal jerseys for his dogs. He shook his head, laughing. You guys are crazy, he said. Changing lives. Worldwide. Shelters across the world began to receive funding from Cristiano's foundation. Thousands of animals were rescued. Cristiano watched as it all unfolded, knowing this was only the beginning. The final stray one night, back in Lisbon, Cristiano found another stray dog. He knelt down, offering his hand. The dog trusted him instantly. A full circle moment. During a major football match, a video played, showing his work for stray animals. The stadium roared with applause. Cristiano wiped away a tear. During a major football match, a video played, showing his work for stray animals. The stadium roared with applause. Cristiano wiped away a tear. Football made me a champion, but kindness made me who I am. If you see an animal in need, don't look away. Rescue, adopt, change a life. Because sometimes, the smallest act of kindness can make the biggest difference. Thank you for watching. If this story moved you, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more inspiring stories. Never forget where you came from. See you in the next one.